So here's something that's been messing with my head lately. Last week I was finishing packing up the rest of my mom's things from her apartment. She passed away from cancer. It's a long story I won't get into right now. I was standing there, surrounded by boxes, when my husband Caden walks in and goes, "Wow, you still haven't finished?" With this half laugh that felt more like a jab than a joke. I didn't even respond. He just started moving my mom's old books out of the way, like they were clutter, like her whole life was just in the way now. And that's when it really hit me. He's been acting different. Not just lately, but worse than usual. It's been about 3 months since my mom passed, but it feels both like it just happened and like it's been forever. She was my only real family. My dad's around, but ever since he remarried, I felt like background noise in his new life. And Caden's family? Total chaos. So it's just been me, our 4-year-old daughter, and this mountain of responsibilities I never asked for. Bills, storage units, legal paperwork, and trying to stay sane through it all. There's no shocking twist to this story. It's just grief, stress, and a partner who seems more irritated by my pain than supportive of it. Sometimes I wonder if I'm just being overly emotional. But then, Caden will say something that makes it clear. It's not just me. Like yesterday, I was putting away groceries, lost in thought, and he walked in, grabbed a drink, and sighed so loud it felt performative. Then he goes, "I miss when you used to be fun." Dead serious. Like I'm supposed to suddenly snap out of mourning just to make the house feel lighter again. He's been going out more too, not hiding it, just casually saying he needs to clear his head or see the guys. And then I'll see a picture of him at a bar while I'm at home folding laundry and eating cereal with our kid. A few nights ago, he said he was going to help Sylvia, this friend from the gym, with something. I asked if he'd be home in time for bedtime. He just shrugged. And then came last night. Our daughter had a full-blown meltdown before bed. She's been extra clingy, which makes sense given all the changes. Caden got annoyed and told her to stop crying, which obviously didn't help. So I took her to the other room, sang to her, read stories, the whole thing. When I came back, Caden was on his phone, volume all the way up, just scrolling like nothing had happened. I asked him if he could please start the dishwasher, and he rolled his eyes and said, "You're being bossy again." And that's when I snapped, just a little. I told him I couldn't keep doing everything alone, and he hits me with, "You're not the only one who lost someone. At least I'm not making the whole house miserable about it." I didn't even know what to say to that. He barely even knew my mom. But now I'm the problem for being sad? I went into the bathroom and locked the door just to cry for 5 minutes without our kid seeing. Not long after, he starts pounding on the door, not knocking, slamming, saying I'm selfish, hiding from my responsibilities, and that it's time to move on. I asked him to leave me alone. He wouldn't stop. Our daughter started crying again from all the noise. I finally came out and told him, if I'm such a burden, maybe he should just go see his friends. He says, "Maybe I will. I never get a break." And I said, "You think I do?" He didn't answer. Just grabbed his jacket and slammed the door so hard it knocked a picture frame off the wall. I taped it back up. Because honestly, I couldn't handle broken glass on top of everything else. He left me to put our daughter to sleep. She was still sniffling. So we curled up on the couch and watched a cartoon until she calmed down. I texted him asking when he'd be back. No reply. Called him, straight to voicemail. I tried not to overthink, but I was furious. I ended up passing out on the couch with our kid, too exhausted to move. He didn't come home until after 2 a.m. I heard the door and checked the time. He didn't even try to be quiet, just stomping around, opening and closing the fridge like he was looking for something. Then he came down the hall and banged on our bedroom door. I cracked it open, and he looked at me like I was the problem. He said, "Stop causing scenes in front of our daughter. I'm done walking on eggshells." I told him I'm tired too. He started to say more, but I just closed the door. He muttered something, but eventually went to sleep in the guest room. This morning, our daughter climbed into my bed and asked where Daddy was. I said he was still sleeping. Then she asked if he was mad. I didn't know how to answer. I just got her ready for daycare, packed her snack, and went to make coffee. That's when I saw it. An actual note on the fridge. Not a text. Real paper. Which he never does. The note just said, "Need space. Maybe you should take some too." That was it. No apology, no explanation. I texted him again, just asking who's picking up our daughter today. No reply. Called, straight to voicemail. 2 hours later, I finally get a text that just says, "I'm busy. You figure it out." And the thing is, I don't have anyone else to ask. My dad's out of town, his side of the family is complicated, and all my friends have jobs or kids of their own. So, yeah, I just handled it. Like always. I even called my dad. Not that he's particularly helpful, but I needed to hear someone's voice. He said maybe Caden just needs to process in his own way. That I should give it a week. He also told me not to escalate things, whatever that means. Am I supposed to just smile and pretend this is normal? All day I kept going in circles. Angry, but also kind of numb. I kept thinking about that moment when I locked the bathroom door, wondering if I really am selfish. Like, is it honestly asking too much to want 5 minutes alone? And still, every few minutes I'd check my phone, like maybe he'd text me something, anything, to show he still cares. But nothing. When he finally came home that night, I tried to talk. I said we should come up with a plan, maybe even talk to someone like a counselor. He walked right past me, didn't even glance up from his phone, and went straight to the shower. Afterward, I calmly asked him not to slam doors or yell around our daughter anymore. He looked at me, completely flat, and said, "Maybe if you acted like a real wife instead of a walking funeral, I wouldn't have to." And I don't even remember deciding to do it. I just slapped him. It wasn't hard, just fast, like the emotion exploded out before I could think. He stared at me, then shoved past me and started throwing things into a bag. I asked him where he was going, and he said, "I'm done. You love being alone? Cool. Figure things out on your own." And then he walked out. Left the front door wide open. I closed it behind him, and our neighbor Bernice was literally standing in the hallway, giving me this look like, yikes. I didn't even have the energy to care. Now I'm sitting here, our daughter finally asleep, just staring at the empty spot by the door where his shoes used to be. Half of me wants to call him. The other half wants to throw all his stuff in the street. I'm exhausted. Not just tired, but drained. From being the only one keeping this house from falling apart. And I keep asking myself, is this my life now? Walking on eggshells, apologizing for missing my own mom? Anyway, I guess I just needed to get this all out. If anyone's been through something like this, or just wants to say, yeah, this is messed up, I'm here. I'm not perfect, but I honestly don't think I deserve to be treated like I'm a burden just for grieving. First update. Okay. I didn't think I'd be back this fast, but last night was something else. I'm still shaky, still replaying it all in my head, and I think I need to write it down before it eats me alive. So it started simple. Trash by the door. I'd come home from dropping off our daughter, and the trash was still just sitting there. Caden always gets on me if I forget it, so I waited. Watched to see if he'd take it out. Nope. Just scrolled past it like it didn't exist. Our daughter was already having a rough morning. Woke up asking for him again. And I'm so tired of making up excuses like, Daddy's tired, Daddy's busy. She's 4, not clueless. The rest of the day was just a blur of phone calls about my mom's estate, work stuff, and our daughter being extra clingy. I texted Caden again, asking about pickup. And again, he left me on red for 2 hours. I knew what that meant. I'd have to drop everything, leave early, and handle it myself. No surprise. But even the daycare teacher, Stephanie, who's sweet but always has this judging undertone, pulled me aside. She asked if everything was okay at home, not in a nosy way, just carefully. Turns out my daughter told her Daddy slammed the door and made Mommy sad. All I could do was smile and say, "It's been a lot since my mom passed." Stephanie nodded like she understood, but I could feel her silently adding me to the barely keeping it together list. And honestly, fair. We got home and of course, no Caden, no text. Just a sticky note on the table that said, "Taking time for myself." I made dinner, mac and cheese and cucumber slices, because that's all I had the energy for. We were halfway through an episode of Bluey when he finally came home, didn't look at us, walked straight to the shower. Our daughter ran to him with open arms. He barely touched her, just patted her head and mumbled that he was tired. She looked at me like she'd done something wrong. I could feel my chest tightening, but I just smiled and said, "Daddy needs quiet time," and pulled out her coloring book. After his shower, he came out in sweats, grabbed his phone, and sat down scrolling. I asked if he could help with bedtime. He just shrugged. I asked again, "Can you at least put her in pajamas?" He groaned, stood up, and did it. Like it was the hardest thing he'd ever done. He didn't say a word, just huffed the whole time like being in the same room was exhausting. Our daughter asked him to read her a bedtime story and he just said, "Not tonight, Mommy will do it." She started to cry, and instead of comforting her, he just left the room and went straight back to his phone. No exaggeration, he spent the next hour scrolling through Instagram and TikTok with his earbuds in, completely tuned out, like we didn't exist. I tucked her in, came out, and tried again to talk to him. I said, "You can't just check out like this. She needs you." He looked up and said, "I need me too. I'm not going to break myself just to make you feel better." I told him, "This isn't about me. It's about being a parent." And he just shook his head like I was the one twisting things. "You always make it about you." It felt like I was talking to someone who wasn't even there anymore. So I walked to the bedroom to breathe. That's when I saw his phone light up. I know I shouldn't have looked, but I did. The message was from Bernice, his cousin's wife. They never talk. It said something like, "Hope you're okay. Let me know if you still want to hang out Friday." I asked him about it, calmly. He snatched his phone out of my hand and accused me of being paranoid. Then he stormed out to the balcony. I followed. It turned into yelling. He said I was trying to control him. I said he was acting like a stranger. He shoved past me to get back inside and slammed the balcony door so hard the glass rattled. I shouted, "You can't keep running away when things get hard." And he said, "Maybe I should start." After that, he locked himself in the guest room. I could hear him talking to someone, no idea who, but I didn't have the energy to care. I just sat on my bed staring at the wall, wondering how we even got here. The next morning, he left before I woke up. No note, no text, no coffee. Our daughter was already up, watching cartoons on her tablet, eating dry cereal she poured herself. She looked up and asked, "Is Daddy mad at me?" I nearly broke. I told her, "Of course not. You didn't do anything wrong." But I could tell she didn't believe me. I called my dad, hoping for something, anything. He just repeated the same line. "Maybe Caden's just grieving differently. Maybe give him some space." I wanted to scream. "What about my grief? What about our daughter?" He just sighed and said maybe he'd come visit, then added that his wife wasn't comfortable with the drama. I said, "Thanks," and hung up. Around noon, I finally get a text from Caden. Just, "I'll be late. Silvio." No context, no mention of our daughter. I replied, "Are you picking her up or not?" Nothing. Left on red. An hour later, he finally replies, "Your problem today. I can't do everything." I nearly threw my phone. So I left work early. Again. Picked her up. Again. Made dinner. Leftover pizza this time. Don't judge. I tried to make the night feel normal, but she was extra sensitive. Kept asking when Daddy would come say goodnight. She wouldn't go to bed without her stuffed bunny, which I ended up tearing apart the couch to find. At one point, she looked at me and said, "I wish Grandma was here." I just hugged her and tried not to cry. Caden came home after 9. He smelled like beer. Not drunk, just irritated. He looked at me and said, "Hope you're happy. You got what you wanted." I asked what that even meant. He said, "You wanted me gone? I'm gone." But then sat on the couch like he was waiting for me to fight back. I didn't. I just went to the kitchen and started cleaning up. He followed me, leaned against the counter and said, "You're obsessed with death. You need to let it go." I told him, "You have no idea what this feels like." And he goes, "I've lost people too. I just don't make everyone miserable because of it." I said, "Are you seriously comparing your great uncle, who you barely even spoke to me losing my mom?" He shrugged. "It's all the same in the end." I wanted to scream. Instead, I said, "Just get out of my face. I'm done having this conversation." He shoved his chair back so hard it scraped the floor and left. I ended up calling someone. Not even a close friend, just a girl I used to hang out with. She texted me back, "Hang in there." That was it. I spent the rest of the night scrolling Reddit, reading stories like mine, but not really, because at least in those, the family cares. I put our daughter to bed. Again, alone. She asked if Daddy was coming to say goodnight. I knocked on the guest room door, told him she wanted him. He just yelled through it, "Tell her I love her." "I'm busy," I said. "This isn't how parenting works." He yelled back, "I can't talk to you right now. You twist everything." I walked back to my room, sat down, and just stared at the floor. And all I could think was, is this it? Is this how it's going to be now? Me doing all of it, him showing up just to criticize or tune us out? And honestly, I feel like I'm finally starting to care less about what he thinks. I'm tired. I'm angry. And maybe, just maybe, I'm done being the only one trying to hold this together. I honestly don't even know what to do anymore. I thought about calling his mom, just to get some outside perspective, but she's somehow even less helpful than my dad. Last time I reached out to her, she literally said, "Boys will be boys. Maybe try dressing up and making him a nice dinner." I nearly gagged on the spot. And now, what really scares me is what this might be doing to our daughter. She notices everything. Even when we think we're being subtle, she picks up on the tone, the tension, the distance. She's asking questions. Questions I don't have answers for. Sometimes I think I should just pack a bag and take her somewhere. Anywhere. But where would we even go? My dad's place isn't an option. Caden's family is a mess, and my friends have their own lives to deal with. So, yeah, this is what I'm stuck in. His space is just him opting out of being a father, while I'm supposed to keep up the illusion that things are fine, that everything's normal. But I don't know how much longer I can fake it. I'm done letting him make me feel like I'm losing it. But I genuinely don't know what the next step is. I'll update if anything changes. Though at this point, I'm not holding my breath. I'm just tired. So tired of doing this by myself. Second update. Back again. Because apparently my life's chaos has more levels. I didn't expect to be back with an update this soon. But here we are. Thank you, by the way, for the DMs and comments. I haven't replied to everyone, but it really does mean something. Even if it's just strangers on the internet, it helps. So it started like everything lately. Quietly wrong. Caden's been doing this thing where his phone is always face down. Not just sometimes, always. Even when it's charging. I've never been the paranoid or jealous type, but after everything, it stuck out. And the way he flips it over if I even glance at it? Yeah. That's not nothing. Yesterday morning was a blur. I'd barely slept. My daughter crawled into bed with me before sunrise, asking if we could go to the park. I said, "We'll see." And of course she immediately asked, "Can Daddy come too?" I said, "Maybe," even though I already knew the answer. I got up, walked out to the kitchen, and there was Caden, already dressed, backpack on, keys in hand. I asked where he was going and he just said, "Silvio's, I told you." Except, he didn't. Not even once. And the way he said it, like it was rehearsed, it just felt off. Then he left. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't even look at our daughter. I tried to keep the day normal. Breakfast, cartoons, the usual. I called my dad just to hear a voice, maybe some advice. He's still in Florida with his wife's family, and all he said was, "Just hang in there. Maybe plan a trip. Get some fresh air." Right. Like I have the time or money for that. Or a kid who'll even sleep unless she's wrapped around me. Then mid-afternoon I get a text. From Bernice. Remember her? Caden's cousin's wife. The one whose name had a heart emoji next to it in his phone. She asked if I could recommend a good pizza place for her son's birthday. Normal. But something felt off. So I casually ask, "Hey, is Caden there?" She replies, "No, why would he be?" I just stared at my screen, then asked, "Is Silvio home?" She said he was at work, but she'd let him know I said hi. That was it. So now I know Caden's not at Silvio's. I try texting him. No answer. I call, rings and rings, then voicemail. I leave a message asking if he's okay. Then I remember Life 360. We set it up when our daughter was born for emergencies. I never took it off. He was across town, not moving, at some random address I didn't recognize. I gave it a few hours. Then I get a text. "Don't wait up. Need space." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so predictable. But this time, I wasn't going to let it slide. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I called Silvio directly. He answered groggy, like I'd woken him up. I said, "Sorry for the weird question, but is Caden there? Or with you?" He just said, No?" I told him Caden said he was. There was a pause, and then he goes, "We haven't hung out in weeks. What's going on?" I could hear Bernice in the background asking if everything was okay. I just said, "Never mind. Sorry. Didn't mean to bother you." I hung up and I was shaking. Not because I was afraid, just because the reality finally landed. All the times he made me feel like I was overreacting, like I was imagining things. No, not anymore. At some point, facts are facts. He got home after dark, said nothing, went straight to the guest room. I followed him in and asked, "Where were you?" He tried to brush it off, told me I was paranoid, accused me of making it all about me. I told him I called Silvio, so if he wanted to keep lying, he could, but I already knew the truth. That's when he lost it. He stood up so fast the chair knocked over, pushed past me into the hallway, yelling that I was crossing a line by dragging other people into our business and embarrassing him. I said, "You embarrassed yourself. I just want honesty." He stormed into the bathroom and slammed the door so hard it left a dent in the wall. I knocked once, told him I wasn't leaving until we talked. He opened it and stood there with his arms folded. Then he said it. "You need help. You're unstable. You're obsessed with controlling me." I told him I was done being his punching bag, emotionally or otherwise, that I wasn't going to let him take things out on me or our daughter anymore. He laughed, actually laughed, and said, "Maybe I should go stay with my mom since you clearly don't want me here." I said, "Then go, but you're not taking our daughter." He fired back, "I have just as much right." "You don't get to decide?" I looked him dead in the eye and said, "If you try that, we'll have a real problem." And I meant every word. He got right in my face. Way too close. But I didn't back down. I said, "You want space? Take it. But don't you dare threaten me." Then he turned around and slammed the front door behind him. I followed, saw him out in the hallway, just standing there. And of course our neighbor peeked out, looked at us like we were some reality show meltdown. I closed the door, locked it, and texted him, "If you want to come back, talk to me like an adult." No reply. I ended up calling my dad again. Yeah, I was that desperate. He half-heartedly said, "Maybe you should come stay here," but then added, "My wife's not really comfortable with all that drama right now." So helpful. I texted a few friends too. No answers. I don't blame them. It was late. And honestly, I think everyone's just exhausted by my situation. So it was just me and my daughter again. That night she crawled into bed crying, said she had a bad dream, something about her dad leaving and never coming back. I hugged her and promised, "I'm not going anywhere." She fell asleep. I didn't. The next morning I got a message from Caden's mom. She's not usually involved, but she texted asking if everything was okay. Said Caden called her late last night. She didn't say what he told her. Just asked if I needed help or if she should come by. I didn't know what to say. I just replied, "It's complicated. Thanks for checking." The whole day after that felt strange. Caden didn't come home. I tried to keep things normal. Coloring books, cartoons, little routines. But my daughter was quieter than usual. Just not her bubbly self. I took her out for ice cream in the afternoon, mostly to get us both out of the house. I even texted Caden, told him where we were. No response. By dinner time, I finally got a message. It said, "You made this worse. Now my family's involved. Hope you're happy." I stared at the screen for a minute before replying, "You involved them by lying and disappearing. Not me." He left me on read. Later that night, there was a knock at the door. Caden's mom and his sister, standing there with a tray of cookies like it was some awkward holiday visit. I let them in, but I said up front, "I'm not in the mood for a big talk." They sat down, gave cookies to my daughter, and then his mom said something like, "Maybe everyone just needs time to cool down. You shouldn't make any big decisions while you're grieving." I almost laughed. I told her, "I'm not making big decisions. I just want honesty and a partner who actually shows up." An hour later, Caden finally walked in. He saw his mom and sister sitting at the table and gave me this look like I'd betrayed him. "So, this is what we're doing now? Ganging up on me?" he said. I looked him straight in the eye and said, "No, but I'm done letting you gaslight me." He tried to flip the script, said I was unstable, that he was worried about our daughter. I stood up and said, "If you're so worried, how about you start by actually being present?" He tried to talk over me, but I didn't back down. His sister tried to mediate, saying we all just needed a break, but it was clear she just wanted to get out of there. Then Caden said something that lit a fire under me. "Maybe I should just take our daughter to my mom's for a while. Give you space to figure yourself out." I said, "Absolutely not. You don't get to take her just because you can't handle your own choices." He stepped toward her, tried to pick her up. I blocked him, physically stepped between them, hand on his arm, telling him, "No, you're not doing this. Talk to me like an adult or leave." He looked at his mom like I was being irrational, but she just shook her head and told him to stop. Finally, he let go of her hand and stormed off to the guest room. His mom sighed, apologized, and they left. Now it's quiet again. My daughter's asleep. I'm sitting here with a tray of cookies no one touched, thinking about all the months I spent letting him convince me I was the problem. But I'm not. I'm done pretending this is normal. If he wants to walk out, he can. But I'm not going to let him rewrite the story or try to take our daughter just because he can't handle being called out. I don't know exactly what comes next, but I know this. I'm not backing down. I'm tired. but I'm still standing. And that's more than I can say for him right now. Third update. I wasn't even sure I'd post this, but after last night and today, I need to say it somewhere or I'm going to lose it. Everything just feels surreal now. Like I keep thinking, if I were reading this online, I'd probably say, girl, leave. But it's never that simple when it's your real life, is it? After the whole cookie tray incident and Caden storming off, I tried to shift into autopilot, made breakfast for my daughter. She asked for pancakes like Grandma used to make. I just said, okay, and microwaved a frozen one. She barely touched it. I sat there scrolling my phone, half doom scrolling, half hoping for a text from Caden that wasn't another passive-aggressive blame dump. Nothing. I heard him in the guest room, never came out. At some point, I think he left. Probably to sulk at a coffee shop or something. Honestly, I didn't care. And that's when it got weird again. Caden's mom and sister showed up. Again. But this time, they brought groceries. Like, actual groceries. Apples, a rotisserie chicken, juice boxes, and for some reason, a whole head of cabbage? Stephanie, his sister, was acting super sweet. Overly sweet. Calling me hun and sweetie, which she's never done before. My daughter was happy to see them at least. But even she seemed to pick up that something was off. Even my daughter could feel it. The tension in the room. Caden's mom and sister were camped out at the kitchen table, whispering in that way people do when they don't want to admit they're talking about you. His mom looked at me and said, "We just want to help. Maybe smooth things over for everyone." I asked, "What does that even mean?" She gave me that gentle but patronizing voice and said, "Well, maybe we should all sit down as a family, have a real talk. And maybe you could use a little time for yourself. Let us watch your daughter for the weekend. Give you a break." A break. The way she said it felt like a loaded word. Like she thought I was the problem that needed to be put away for a bit. I tried to stay polite. I said, "I'm not comfortable with that right now. I want my daughter here with me." Stephanie nodded, but I saw her texting under the table, probably giving Caden a play-by-play on my attitude. I asked point blank, "Did Caden put you up to this?" His mom said, "He's just worried. He told us, you've been struggling." I nearly lost it. I said, "Of course I'm struggling. My mom died, and every time I need him, my husband disappears." They looked at each other like I was being unreasonable. Like grief plus abandonment isn't enough of a reason to be overwhelmed. While they were still there, Caden came home, which never happens when his family's around. He saw them and went straight into performance mode. "I'm just trying to help, but you make it impossible." I told him, "If you want to help, start by telling the truth and actually being a parent. Stop outsourcing your responsibilities. First to me, and now to your mom and sister." He said, "I'm just trying to protect our daughter from your moods." Moods, like I'm a storm to be shielded from. I was shaking from how angry I was. I told him, "You're not taking her anywhere. You're not pulling the unstable mom card on me." Stephanie jumped in with, "Maybe we all just need to calm down." But I said, "No, I'm done being calm. If you want to talk, let's talk. But I'm not handing over my daughter just so you can feel more comfortable." Then Caden slammed his hand on the table. Our daughter flinched and started crying. I picked her up and carried her out of the room. Stephanie followed and tried to smooth things over with a quiet, "Don't worry, sweetie. Daddy's just upset." I looked at her and said, "Don't minimize this. You have no idea what it's like." She tried to hug me. I shrugged her off. Later, I heard them all talking in the other room, like I wasn't even part of this. And I heard the word intervention, like I'm some crisis to be managed. I walked back in and said, "I'm right here. You can talk to me directly." Caden's mom said, "We think you need help. Maybe talk to someone. Take some time away from your daughter and just focus on yourself." I looked her in the eye and said, "No, thank you. I'd like you to leave now." Caden actually stepped in front of the door, told me I was being unreasonable. I pushed past him, opened the door, and told them all, "You can come back when you're ready to talk to me like a person, not like a problem." Stephanie tried, "We're just worried." I said, "Then worry about your brother, not me." I locked the door behind them. My daughter didn't leave my side the rest of the day. Even while I was making lunch, she held onto my hand, and I let her. Because if this is the price of finally standing up for myself, so be it. Caden sulked for the rest of the day. Wouldn't even look at me. At one point he said, "If you keep acting like this, I'll call a lawyer and get custody." I laughed, instantly regretted it, because it only made him angrier. But I told him, Good luck explaining to a judge why you ran away when things got hard and left your grieving wife to raise a toddler alone. He just stared at me and went back to the guest room. I texted my dad, not for help, just to see if he had anything at all to say. All I got back was, "Sorry, I can't get involved." Of course. Later, Caden's mom texted to apologize for overstepping, but added that she still thought I should take care of myself. I didn't reply. I'm done pretending this is about concern. This is about saving face, not having the neighbors talk. But they are talking. Polly from across the hall asked if everything was okay. I just said, "Rough week." She nodded like she'd heard it before. And now it's the part where I figure out what happens next. Caden came to me late last night after our daughter went to sleep. Calm, like he was trying to be the rational one. He said, "You're clearly not happy. I'm not happy. Maybe we should just separate for a while." I said, "Fine. But I'm not leaving this apartment, Ray, and I'm not letting you take our daughter." He said, "That's not fair." And I said, "Neither is anything you've put me through." He started yelling. I told him, "If you wake her up, I will call the police for disturbing the peace, and I don't care who hears it." He stormed off and slammed the door, but not before saying, "You'll regret this." And the truth? I'm scared. Not of him hurting us, but scared of what happens when I stop playing along. Will he actually try for custody? Will his family keep pushing? Will my daughter grow up remembering this year as the one everything broke? I started a list last night, actual steps, called the building manager, asked about changing the locks. They said I need his signature or a court order. Typical. Looked up some family mediation places, not because I want to, but because I want a paper trail. Called a therapist, left a voicemail. Because yes, his family is right about one thing. I do need help, just not the kind they think. Tonight I let my daughter choose dinner, chicken nuggets and apples. We watched a movie on the couch. At one point she asked, "Is Daddy coming home?" I said, "Maybe later, but for now it's just us." She seemed okay with that. Caden is still here technically. He went out after dinner, said he needed fresh air, but I heard him on the phone in the hallway, talking to his mom. I didn't eavesdrop. I didn't need to. I know this isn't over. When he came back, he didn't say a word. Just went straight to the guest room. I don't know what happens tomorrow, or next week, or next month. But I do know this. I'm not giving up my home. I'm not giving up my daughter. And I'm definitely not letting him or his family decide who I am. That's all for now. No tidy ending, no inspiring quote. Just reality. If you've been through something like this, if you found your way out, I'd love to know how. Or even just tell me I'm not crazy for finally fighting back. Because tonight, I really, really need to hear that. Not even a one-word message, not a single check-in about our daughter. I let it slide for a day, then another. By the third day, something in my gut felt off, like maybe he was planning something behind the scenes. And then it happened. I got a message, but not directly to me. It was in a group chat, with his mom, his sister, and me. He wrote, "Since Polly refuses to cooperate, I'll be picking up our daughter for the weekend. I've already made arrangements." Just like that. Like I didn't even exist. Like I was just a logistical problem. His mom chimed in immediately with, "We can help." And Stephanie sent a thumbs up emoji like this was some kind of event they were organizing. I didn't even respond right away. I was so angry I couldn't type. I wasn't an afterthought, and neither was my daughter. So I messaged Caden privately and said, "If you want to see your child, you make arrangements with me, not in a group chat." He fired back, "I'm tired of your drama. I'll be there at 9 a.m. Saturday came. 8:50 a.m. I was already bracing for a scene. And right on cue, he showed up with his mom and sister in tow, all smiling like it was some cheerful family brunch. He tried to walk straight into the apartment like nothing was wrong. I blocked the doorway, calm but firm. I said, "Hold up. You're not just taking her for the whole weekend with no conversation, no plan." He got defensive, started accusing me of keeping him from his daughter. His mom stood behind him talking about family unity. I cut her off. "You don't get to show up and bulldoze your way through my boundaries," I said. "If you want to spend time with her, we agree on it together. You don't just make demands and expect me to smile and say yes." Caden started raising his voice, saying I was unstable, difficult, impossible. Stephanie tried to step between us. I told her to move. "I'm not having this conversation in front of my child," I said. Then Caden tried to push past me, physically. I stood my ground, hand on the doorframe, blocking him. I looked him in the eye and said, "Stop. You're not coming in unless you calm down and speak to me like a human being. Behind me, my daughter was clutching her stuffed bunny, eyes wide. I could see the fear in her face. His mom said I was overreacting, that I should just let things run their course. I snapped. This is my home. You don't get to take over just because you're uncomfortable with boundaries. I told Caden. Try to push your way in again, and I'll call the landlord, or let the neighbors handle it. Your choice. Finally, he backed off. Face red, muttering about how I was unbelievable. I said, you can take her to the park, a few hours. But you're not taking her for the whole weekend until we agree, in writing, how this is going to work. I stood in the doorway until he agreed. His mom gave me the guilt trip eyes. I didn't flinch. Eventually, Caden said, fine, we'll be back by 3 now. I packed the bag myself. Snacks, wipes, her water bottle, her bunny, because I knew he'd forget. They left, and I just sat on the couch, shaking, not crying, just drained. My phone buzzed constantly. His mom texting about how hard this is for everyone. I put it on silent. They brought her back right at 3 hours. She looked tired, clingy, but okay. Caden tried to act casual, like none of it happened. I just said my thanks. See you next time, and shut the door behind him. Locked it. I heard them in the hallway for a minute. Didn't care. After that, things got weirdly quiet. Caden stopped showing up unannounced. Only texted about short visits. He tried twice to argue about custody, and I just repeated, put it in writing, or talk to someone who actually has authority. I started keeping notes, logging every message, every comment, every missed visit. If you suggested that, thank you. Lifesaver. His family backed off too. Eventually, I think they realized I wasn't going to roll over and play nice just to make them feel better. Stephanie texted once, asking if we could reset and focus on the kid. I told her, that's all I ever wanted. She left me on red. Caden still comes around. When it's his turn. We don't talk much, just the basics. He tried one last time to guilt me into taking him back. I said, you had your chance. I meant it. And I did. So, if you made it this far, thank you for listening, for reminding me I'm not alone in this fire. If you ever need permission to say no more, this is it. You're not wrong for setting boundaries. You're not selfish for protecting your peace. You're not crazy for finally standing up. Signing off for real this time.